Well, today I'm going to talk about little fix-ups, little minor improvements that I've made to my trailer and my equipment, which, if they're all individual, are not much, but I guess if you put them together, they mount up to something. Little things that make it fun or more usable. Those little things you put off and finally decide on a nice sunny day in the woods, you're going to try out a few. If you don't fall asleep, I hope you enjoy it. One thing I should mention, because I probably confuse new viewers at least, is that I don't always release my videos in consecutive order. I gather footage throughout the year, sometimes even a couple of years, and whenever I feel it's right, I edit it all together and hope it makes sense. But I know it confuses a lot of people, especially with the Jeep, because sometimes you'll see a white Jeep and sometimes you'll see a tan Jeep, and people get confused and say, well, why is the white Jeep there? I thought you sold it, you got rid of it. Well, it's because it's old footage. I work with whatever inspires me or whatever the topic is, and yeah, I'll do a part 1 and people will expect part 2 is going to be the next video. Doesn't always work that way. In any case, you're going to find this video is the same thing, that it has different clips from different periods. So you'll see different vehicles, and you'll see sometimes I'm a little bit more clean shaven and sometimes I'm a little scruffy. But that's the way I do things. I try to keep things on topic, and if old footage works, that's what I put in. So don't get confused. It's just the way I do things. For example, a while back I discovered how effective a trailer latch pin was at stopping your trailer step from sliding out during transportation. All you needed to do was drill a hole in your step, a hole in the support directly below it, slide the step back, and insert the latch pin. Once locked in place, it's not going to go anywhere, and I secured the pin with a cable so it can't fall off. Simple, cheap, and works like a charm. Well, if you've got an old A-frame trailer like I do, you might be familiar with this. It's the side latch. And what its purpose is it holds the roof down to the main body, so if you're flying down the highway, it doesn't open up, or if there's a big wind or something, it secures the roof. Very important thing to have. Unfortunately, the one I have, they kind of skimped out on design, if you know what I mean. Because what it is, it's a 1/4 bolt that's just flattened on the end and riveted in place. And if you can see, it's super thin right here, and it's actually bent a little. And what can happen, and it did happen to me, is that if it wiggles back and forth, there's a weak point right there, and it'll break, and then you have no latch. So, as a band-aid solution, let me show you what I did. Well, on this side, I have the same kind of latch, but what I did when this broke is I took another 1/4 bolt, I heated up the end, whacked it with a hammer to flatten it, but I flattened it a lot thicker. That's about 1/8 of an inch, not the 1/16 of an inch, and riveted that in place with stainless steel rivets. It's a lot more secure. It should hold, and it was an easy fix. I just needed a bolt, a hammer, and a torch, and a couple of rivets. So, not everything has to be expensive. There are some things that are pretty easy to do, and it was something that simply took me about 20 minutes. Another thing I thought was kind of odd was this side door on the trailer. Because what would typically happen is I'd open it up, and then I'd need 2 hands, and I'd be banging my head on it because there's nothing holding it up. So what I did is installed a T-style door catch, and it just goes on like that. No more banging the noggin. The other one is this, what's it called? A weatherproof boot kit. Now it's got nothing to do with shoes. What this is for this little guy right here, this little connector to a shoreline. Now you'd sort of think, well, Slim, what do you care about the shoreline because you're off the grid most of the time? Yes, however, I'm not going to throw this out. I'm not going to, I still want to be able to use 110 when I need it, especially times like now when I'm dry docked and I need to do repairs. So, you know, yes, I do need it, but what I don't need is all the space that it takes up inside. So I'm going to show you why I want to get rid of this and why I need this. Well, as Captain Kirk once said, space, the final frontier. And when you have a small trailer, space is the biggest frontier because you need to get the most efficient use of space. And you know, I've done a lot of things in this trailer to get the maximum amount of space, but there's one thing I have not done yet. And I don't know why it's taken me so long to realize this, but this cord, look at how much space it takes up. And I don't even use that cord that much. It's only when I'm plugged into, you know, at a campsite, which is hardly ever, when I need 110. And times like now when I need 110 for dry dock, but I don't need that cord. And so having it detachable, I can put it somewhere else or not even bring it if I'm not going to need it. But look at all the space that I get with that, removing it. And what I want to do is actually put a battery there. I think that would be far more efficient use of space. This is where I had the water tank before. I took that out, so that gave me a little bit more space, but the more space, the merrier. So regarding the outlet, once I opened up the package, I noticed right away something's not going to work because the piece that's supposed to mount on the outside does not fit with what's existing there. There's supposed to be 4 bolt holes, nothing to attach them to. So I'm going to have to make a little piece to fit in between, which means I went to the dollar store and picked up a cutting board. So I'm going to make a template from that with the cutting board and put that on the cutting board. It's an extra step, takes a little bit more time, but it's only $1. To measure the size, I first had to remove the existing outlet. I just removed the 4 screws and broke the seal around it to get it out. Well, I'm back from the shop and I made this backing plate out of a cheap plastic cutting board. So it'll go like that, and I'll put 4 metal screws in there and a little bit of silicone around it to seal it. But that's what I need to put this on the side. Now there is another way of doing this. I just thought I'd let you know what I used. It's called an installation kit. It's not a conversion kit. Whereas a conversion kit has the backing plates and templates and all that, this does not. I thought I'd save a few bucks, but in reality, I'd go to the conversion kit if I could. Not only that, this company, Leisure Cords, they didn't really provide much. Those are the instructions right here, these tiny little letters. And what they didn't provide, which I don't know why because it would have been so easy, is provide templates. All they had to do was put a circle and 4 little dots there as to the template, because these are weird sizes. These are 2 7/16 inch apart, 62 millimeters, and even the big hole is 2 7/8 inches. They're weird sizes. So I could have saved a lot of time if I just bought the conversion kit. If you're smart, you'll follow somebody called Going Nowhere Fast. Rick has done it with a conversion kit, and it probably took him 20 minutes, whereas because I'm being frugal, it's going to take me several hours, and it took me 2 trips to the hardware store. Well, 1 trip to the dollar store, and they don't even include screws. I had to go to a hardware store to buy 4 screws for this. Anyway, before I put it on, I gotta cut the cord. So out comes the cord, and we can start the next step. Oh yeah, by the way, before I cut the cord, I did shut off all the breakers. I disconnected the battery so there is no power going into this before I go snip snip. Well, I had to take a little break because the lighting was so harsh you couldn't see me in the shadow, but now it's a little later, I can finish up. Here's where I left off. I've got the receptacle on the mounting plate, and it's all screwed together, secured. It's pretty easy to do that. One problem I had is these little machine screws that I put in that holds it onto the mounting plate. They didn't line up perfectly, so I drilled 2 little holes. That way it all fits nice and flush. Now I haven't glued that together yet. I haven't secured it because I wanted to make sure it would work. And in order to do that, I had to take the existing cord, cable, whatever you want to call it, and put the end part on. And this comes with the kit as well. It has a locking ring. It has a rubber, I guess, water protective cover. And this is the outlet, the female section of it. Easy to do. The 3 wires, and they're all coated. The 3 screws there to secure the wires to the prongs. All I have to do is slide that back and line that up. Tighten this up, and it's ready to go. So that's the next step. 2 screws tighten the cord clamp so you don't accidentally pull the wires from the contacts. But putting the waterproof housing in place was a bit of a challenge. But with a little perseverance, I succeeded in sliding it on, plus the locking collar that fits over it. After sandwiching a little adhesive between surfaces, I screwed the outlet assembly onto the trailer wall. To use, you just push the plug in, give it a little clockwise twist, and secure the plug in place with the collar. Some white silicone along the edges, and the installation is complete. Well, regarding the extra space that generated, well, I already used that up, because now I have a battery, some cables, and even storage for a wind turbine. Much more effective use of space than just a power cord. Well, it could be a while before I have enough wind for the wind turbine. So in the meantime, I'd like to show you something else I've been working on. You might remember that I have a cell phone booster, a Wii Boost, and I've been using a Wilson unidirectional antenna, and I experimented with this before. However, I didn't have a proper way of mounting it on my trailer, so that was my next idea. And like I have on my wind turbine, I've got another one of these lock collar broom handles. You know, they extend out like that. And what I did with it, on the handle end, I drilled a hole and put a 1/4-20 bolt through it, and it's just got a bolt that locks it on, and then it's just got a wing nut underneath that. And on this side, this is a, I guess you call it a corner bracket. It's a flat L-shaped corner bracket, and I just bent it 90 degrees. That's why it's like that. And it's held on with like a U-bolt or a C-bolt, whatever you want to call it, and a little piece of plastic here, and a muffler clamp just to hold that in place. So that actually spins around like that. Makes no sense whatsoever to you now, but let me put it all together and I'll show you how it works. Now I have the Wilson antenna attached, and it's just attached to the metal end of the broom handle, and it's pretty neat because the clamp fits there perfectly. It even gives it a little bit of a lip, so that works well. Got the cable on there. All I have to do is extend it. Let's go full height. There we go. And on the side of the trailer, I've got my hinge. This is merely a strap hinge with the ends cut off, a plastic spacer, and 2 rivets. That just comes down and stops at a 90-degree angle. And at the top, I've got a little slot, which is an 1/8-inch aluminum angle bar with the slot drilled out and riveted to the frame. I just fit that into right there. Take the wing nut off. Put that in there. And hopefully I won't drop it on the ground. The wing nut. Got it. So to adjust, just twist wherever you want it, and then lock it with the lock nut. Now, I'm not really expecting a signal here because I'm surrounded by mountains. Oh yeah, one other update while I think of it. You might remember that I've been putting posters up on this wall and trying various adhesives and stuff like that. See if it'll work. I give up. I finally gave up. Nothing works. If it's self-adhesive like these, they work fine reasonably, but even in super cold or super hot, they might peel off. But all the stuff that I put up, it just fell down. You know, poor old Muddy Waters here. He had the blues and down he came. Sid's not looking too healthy either. So yeah, I could not find an adhesive that would work properly. It has to work in all temperatures. And glue guns, doesn't matter what the quality of the glue, as soon as it got hot, down it came. So no more posters, stick with stickers. Well, today's a little bit of a mix. A little cloud, oh, but here comes the sun. A little bit of wind. Nice day to be out in the woods. And I hope people understand when I do these videos and I put them together, I do try to show the, thank you, sunny side of life and the challenges I have when I'm traveling and when I'm experimenting. That's kind of what you expect when you're out wandering around in the woods, and it's not always perfect, but it's still better than being in gridlock in the city, and that's what I enjoy about the country. And it's always changing. It's never the same. And I hope people pick up in my videos when I'm putting something together. I'm exploring. I'm trying new things, experimenting. Sometimes things go well, sometimes they don't. But as long as I learn, that's the main thing. And that's kind of how I approach life. It's easy to get frustrated. I know a lot of people have problems in life and they all deal with them differently. Oh, look at that wind now. That's good for the turbine. But how they seek out, you know, what is beautiful in life and how they deal with their frustrations, everybody has their own ways. And yeah, I get frustrated at times, but I try to keep it to myself or find ways of getting rid of it. And one of my best ways is just getting out into the wilderness, relaxing, thinking things out, and finding out, well, you know, things weren't as bad as I thought they were. They actually are quite good. I hope you enjoyed this video and check out my other ones as well, because I'm just going to chill out and enjoy a beautiful day.